I went into this episode eagerly looking forward to seeing more of Lacey and her wonderfully hilarious dynamic with Ult, and hoping that she would finally make him learn and apply himself so that he can finally stop being dead weight and a pushover that is all bark, no bite. Thankfully, this episode delivers on all these fronts. Unsurprisingly, getting through his thick skull is not an easy task, and I love that Lacey realizes this and chooses the nuclear option. Now, of course, there was never any doubt that she would humble him hard. Lacey is a member of the Elite Four after all, while Ult is, well, Ult. He never stood a chance. Plus, he also had to lose for the sake of the story, because it's the only way to finally push him onto the right path. Now, normally I would spend some time breaking down the battle itself, however, unlike the previous two episodes, which had major battles, this one is more of a means to an end. Its purpose is solely to force Ult to stop messing around and to finally take Lacey seriously. It's not meant to be a spectacle or anything truly memorable. That said, for what it is, it's actually pretty decent. There's a fair amount of movement and animation, especially for such a short battle, and it does have some really good moments, such as Excadrill diving into the ground with Dig and striking from below as Sableye runs around in a panic like a headless chicken. This sequence is cool, fast, impactful, and tense. I love that Lacey turns the battle into a lesson by asking Ult to guess what Excadrill's Terra type is. Both Ult and Sableye are hilariously completely stumped, and then, funnier still, utterly shocked and horrified when they learn it's Fairy. Which is not just accurate to the games, it also happens to be Sableye's only weakness. Lacey also points out his mistakes in real time, like having Sableye use Power Gem against Excadrill. It's a bad call, and she makes sure he understands it and why. She also tries to get him to understand his opponent, their strengths and weaknesses via observation. I love that she even uses the same gesture she uses in the games when asking players to look closely at Pokemon to figure out the answers to her questions. Talk about being faithful to the games. So even though this battle is short and simple, it's still entertaining, funny, satisfying because he deserves the beatdown, and most importantly, valuable to both Ult and the story. I also love that after the battle, Lacey continues teaching Ult by quizzing him on the basic Pokemon knowledge, just like she does in the games. She even has him answer one of the questions she poses to the player. Where does a Pikachu store its electricity? Ult, unsurprisingly, has no idea, and after getting it wrong multiple times, he gets frustrated and tries to physically figure it out by examining Cap. Naturally, this just gets him a nice big electric shock, which is so nostalgic. Seeing someone get electrocuted by a Pikachu is basically tradition in the anime at this point. It's still as funny as ever, especially because it serves him right. Funnier still is that Lacey repeatedly does her trademark X by crossing her arms because Ult is constantly getting things wrong. However, as hilarious as it is to see Ult fail miserably on repeat, the real reason why this episode works and the reason it doesn't end up feeling like filler is Dragonite. Seeing Drayton and his Dragonite together makes Ult feel a bit jealous. He also has a Dragonite, but he's not that close with it. Heck, his Dragonite won't even leave its Pokeball when he wants it to. Or rather, it only ever seems to come out when it absolutely has to. In fact, thus far, Dragonite has been less of a partner and more of an emergency button that only gets pressed when the situation is dire enough. And yet, hilariously, when Olt says bitterly that Dragonite never leaves its Pokeball under normal circumstances, it immediately proves him wrong by doing exactly that. This is a powerful moment because it's the first time we've ever seen this happen. There's no crisis, yet Dragonite shows up. Now at first, this just feels like perfect comedic timing. Olt is immediately contradicted to make him look like a fool. While this might be true, I also think there is more to this. It feels like Dragonite sensed that something is finally about to change. I've said this before, but Olt seems to be deeply insecure. Hence why he is so loud, constantly boasting that he's so great and that he will be the strongest. It's all just fake bravado to hide his fears, failures, and weaknesses. He's only honest and vulnerable when he is forced to, something that, prior to this episode, only happened during battles where he was overwhelmed to the point of feeling helpless. This time, however, it's a person, Lacy, who forces him to confront his self-doubt and inner fragility. I think Dragonite perceives this, and it appears to help Lacy break through to Olt. Not to mention that he says he wants to be friends with Dragonite, but doesn't know how. Dragonite likely responds to this as well. What follows is the heart of the episode. Olt confronts what Dragonite means to him when Lacy wonders why he wants to bond with it. His initial answer is that he wants to be the strongest, meaning he still refuses to drop the facade. But since Dragonite and Lacy see through him immediately, Dragonite looks visibly displeased, and Lacy points out that he's not being honest. Olt finally reveals how he truly feels. Turns out he's still haunted by what happened in episode 111. He knows he wasn't good enough and that he couldn't really help his friends. He ended up letting them down, including his own Pokemon. This is the first time in the entire series where Olt truly feels genuinely vulnerable, which instantly makes him more relatable, human, and likable. He stops being just a loud, obnoxious kid that thinks he's the best. Instead, he becomes someone you can and want to actually root for, especially because his sorrow and frustration stem from his inability to protect others, which ties back to why his father entrusted Dragonite to him in the first place. Dragonite is supposed to only battle when Olt wants to fight for someone else's sake. In other words, it isn't just a Pokemon, it's a lesson, one meant to teach Olt not to be self-centered. He should fight for something beyond himself and his own ego, and find people he values and wants to protect. This is why it took so long for Dragonite to finally leave its Pokeball, and why it only did so twice since then. Essentially, Olt didn't meet the unlock requirements until episode 106, and he didn't meet them again until episodes 107 and 110. But now, he's finally worthy of using Dragonite at will. He finally earned the right to do so. And I love that an Alolan Executor shows up just in time to prove this, and that Olt did learn from Lacy. He battles together with Dragonite and actually observes his opponent, allowing him to notice a weakness he exploits to win. This battle is, much like his battle with Lacy, short, unspectacular, and simple, but valuable to the story and ult. Battling isn't just about power, it's also about observation and understanding your opponent. This is what Lacy wanted to teach him all along, since the previous episode in fact, and this battle makes it clear that he finally learned his lesson, which immediately pays off by allowing him to visibly and confidently improve. Moreover, this battle also makes it clear that his bond with Dragonite grew by leaps and bounds, since after the battle, Dragonite picks Ult up and places him on its shoulder, which reminded me of a father lifting their child to let them see the world from higher up. It's a small gesture, but a powerful one. Now, honestly, my first reaction was, is Dragonite his father reincarnated? Obviously, there's no way to prove this, and who knows if it's actually possible. But the thought is funny, and thematically, Dragonite absolutely does feel like a father figure. Perhaps it's meant to be a surrogate father. It belonged to Ult's father, it protects Ult, it clearly disapproves when he says the wrong thing, it obviously wanted to teach him an important lesson, and now, for the first time, it's showing him genuine affection. It really does feel like Dragonite was just waiting for Ult to mature at least a little before accepting him. It's obvious that it finally does. I also love that Ult thanks Lacy at the end of the episode and admits that she was right. This is huge since not only does it validate her efforts, it also cements their relationship as mentor and student. Plus, Ult finally admitting that he's wrong and that someone else is right while being sincere is a sign that he really did grow, not just as a trainer but also as a person, which is great. I must say as well that Lacy mentioning that they are alike because they both inherited a Pokemon from their father is a fantastic detail. It allows Ult to feel understood, leans into Lacy's lore, allowing it to have more meaning and value, and makes it feel like they were destined to be teacher and student, or rather that pairing them together was the right choice. It's similar to what they did with Drayton and Roy, so great adaptation and use of characters from the games all around. Now, much like the previous two episodes, while this one has a clear focus, it still shows us what the rest of the cast is up to. And I love that this time, the spotlight is on Carmine, which is wonderful because like I said in my previous review, I'm really glad that not only did she return, she's finally being used as more than just a one-off cameo. Just like in the games, Carmine is Briar's assistant, something she clearly takes pride in, believing she understands Briar the best. Unfortunately for her, Liko ends up stealing her thunder by proving that she understands Briar just as well, if not better, which makes Carmine absolutely seethe, which is hilarious and on brand for her. She can't stand the idea that someone is better than her, especially at something she takes pride in. It's even worse because Liko isn't even trying to compete. She's just being kind and considerate as usual. Now sadly, nothing comes out of this rivalry. There's no funny confrontation or a contest to see who truly knows Briar better. which is what I expected. Instead, this simply serves to reinforce and showcase Carmine's personality, allowing her to shine more as a character. Now, I don't doubt that she would have tried to one-up Liko if she had the chance. This would have been very in character for her. The only reason she doesn't do so is that Gimmighoul hilariously has her gather coins for it. Again, having it gather coins constantly is a small detail I love, because when it finally evolves, it won't feel like it came out of nowhere. I also love that Carmine gets angry and chases Gimmighoul, which unexpectedly leads to a battle with Dot. Or should I say, a battle in quotations, since this is more of an elaborate joke. It's just a who can scare the other more with Astonish contest. There's obviously nothing to analyze here in terms of choreography or animation. I will admit it's funny though, and just like Liko training briefly with Sharkadet in the previous episode, it does have a narrative value, since even when the focus is elsewhere, the rest of the cast is still training, improving, and making progress. Especially since Gimmighoul, like Sharkadet, is still new and inexperienced. So they need all the help they can get. Though I'm not sure this really counts as training. Also, Carmine being the butt of the joke repeatedly, to the point that even her battle is a joke, is fitting because in the games, she was frequently left fuming when things didn't go her way. It's not the most profound use of her character, but it does suit her, and more importantly, it's fun. Plus, again, I'm just glad she's back and actually doing something instead of being a one-off character once more. So, overall, this episode was fantastic. At a glance, it might feel like filler. It doesn't progress the story significantly or reveal anything major or groundbreaking. But in terms of character development, this is actually the most important episode for Ult so far. It's the culmination of his mentor-student relationship with Lacy. Her persistence, earnestness, and refusal to give up on him finally break through, forcing him to confront his own weaknesses, admit his fears, and stop hiding behind fake bravado. He learns the importance of observation and analysis in battle, and more importantly, he takes the first real step towards bonding with Dragonite. For the first time, he doesn't just get stronger, he actually grows. Lacy continues to be absolutely adorable, unintentionally funny, endlessly patient, and genuinely likable. I honestly can't get enough of her, just like in the games. And the same goes for Carmine. While she doesn't get to do anything as profound or serious, she's still hilarious, expressive, and entertaining. She's simply a joy to watch. Moreover, this episode continues to show us the slow, organic growth of characters who aren't even the focus, ensuring that when they do accomplish something big, it won't feel like they are pulling it out of a hat tureen. This is genuinely one of the strongest aspects of this arc so far. This all leads to an episode that is light on action, spectacle, and story progression, but full of meaning, heart, entertainment, and superb character growth and moments. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to click the links on screen. And if you'd like to support the channel and help me keep making content like this, you can find all the ways to do so in the description and in the pinned comment. Whether it's through a small donation or just watching and sharing, every bit of support means the world to me. Thank you so very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.